our Tree Board webinar series. Today it's Messaging and Communications 101 for arborists and tree lovers. Hopefully everybody's able to get in on the phone line. That's where our audio is going to be coming from. And as you could hear, everybody's phone line is going to be muted just because we get a lot of reverberation and feedback when we don't do that. And this presentation is being recorded, so we want to make sure we have clean audio. Before we get started with Don's presentation, I just wanted to familiarize you users with a couple of functions of the live meeting site itself. As I said, it's going to be recorded, and your phone lines are all going to be muted. So because of that, there are a couple of ways that you can provide feedback or do questions. So first, looking at the slide here in the top left, you'll see there should be a Q&A tab in your top left. That's where you'll be able to type questions into Dawn and myself. And I'll bring Dawn's attention to it if you have a question in the middle of the presentation, although she is allowing time at the end for question and answer, but feel free to submit any time during the presentation, and I'll make sure your question gets addressed. Also, then over on the far right, top right, you'll see a feedback area. It should have a little green square with a drop-down box. That's one way for you to be able to provide comment to me if you can't hear, if she's going too fast, or if you need some help or whatever. That draws my attention to it there, so you can select any of those options, and I'll be keeping an eye on that. Also, Dawn has uploaded a document or a handout for everybody. So if you see those 3 sheets of paper in the top right as well, there will be 2 documents on there. One is the webinar series brochure, just so you know what this is all about and what our next one in the series is. And then it also has her handouts you can download, and she'll probably be referring to it during the presentation itself. Then the bottom right of your screen, that's where you can change your screen mode to be full screen or a separate window. So if you want to just do the presentation, that's where you can go into full screen mode or out of it. So with that, hopefully everybody's got a handle on that. It's pretty simple to use. All right. Let me get the recording started real quick. There we go, it's recording. All right, so this morning's presenter is Dawn Crawford. She is the Principal Communicator of BCDC Ideas, which is a firm here in Raleigh. We've worked with them on a couple of different efforts. But she's dedicated her career to nonprofit communications and fundraising. Before founding BCDC Ideas, she spent the first 10 years of her career in various communication leadership roles. She is a true communicator at heart and has found her niche in social media, where she is a weaver of words and a passionate community builder. And when her day job is finished, she enjoys spending time with her baby girl, Katrina, and she gardens to make the world a more beautiful and pleasant place to live. So, Dawn, you can take it.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. I just want to confirm you can still hear me, correct, Leslie?
Yes.
Okay, good. Because I hit the little mute microphone on my computer. I just want to make sure that you can still hear me. So thank you so much for coming out this morning and listening to this webinar. I really hope that we give you, as volunteers on your tree board, some great tips on how to amplify all the work that you're doing to make your city so beautiful with trees. So let's see, just a little bit about BCDC Ideas. So like Leslie said, we're a full-service communications agency that works exclusively with nonprofits across the country. So we feel very fortunate that we get to work with so many strong and powerful and fantastic nonprofits. So we have 12 years of dedicated nonprofit experience paired with 7 years of corporate experience. So we have that cool ability to be able to do that blue sky thinking, but then make it affordable for nonprofits, which is really important. So that's me. That's my little face. You get to see, you saw it on the invite, but I'm Dawn. So definitely stop me throughout this presentation. Ask me questions. You know, this is really about your time today. I want to make sure that you get some really great ideas from the presentation. Okay, So talking a little bit about what we're going to cover today. So first off, we're going to talk a little bit about crafting key messages. So this is ways to quickly summarize what your tree board does and share it with the public. We're going to talk about creating a digital storefront, how important it is that you have some sort of online destination for people to learn more about your tree board. Talk a little bit about media relations. That's a big chunk to talk about, but it's something that we think is really important for amplifying all that you do. And then just reminding you about being visible in the community. So what are some additional ways to let all the folks in your community, whether that's a city or a neighborhood or a whole region of a state, that you're just kind of getting that understanding and awareness about the importance of trees in urban settings. So I think number one step, whenever we're talking about communications and marketing with the tree board, especially a tree board that is associated with a municipality or a city or a county, is that you check and make sure that you don't have a great partner already waiting to help you. So within cities and counties, there's people called public information officers or communications directors who are responsible for doing the media relations and the communications for your city. And these people can be huge allies in all of this work that we're going to talk about today. So I would say first step is to explore whether you have somebody who's a partner in that way, and then kind of learn what you can and cannot do. So what are some responsibilities that you have versus your communications partner? So I know for really small cities that you're not going to have that person, or you can have a person who they just handle media relations and they're really busy. So they might be really excited that you want to take on these type of activities, but it's good just to talk to them and to figure out what fits for you. So we have our first poll. So I just wanted to kind of get a grasp on how many of you have that communications ally in a PIO or a director. Just let me know what you're thinking there. Okie dokie. So it looks like around, oh, the number's still changing. Still putting in answers. Interesting. So about 60% of you do have a PIO or a communications director. So that person definitely, the first step is to talk to them about what is the right thing for you to do. And then another 30% looks like you did not have that person. So you are the team of one. So this is all your responsibility. So I hope that you get some good ideas. And then some people don't know. That's a great question to take out of this presentation today. Okay, so we're first going to talk about crafting key messages. So key messages are really these kind of starting points for your organization to clearly and succinctly talk about what you do. So you really want to go through the who, what, when, where, why, and how type of thought process for crafting this key message. So these can be bullets. These can be kind of talking points that you have for your organization. They can be your elevator speech. But really think about answering each one of these areas for your key messages is going to make sure that you have a really round and complete key message set that you can use when you're talking to the media. You can use it in your web copy. You can use it in brochures. You can use it online, on your social media. So you want to talk about who you are, what your board does specifically, how your organization makes a difference for urban landscapes, or how is your organization different? So the how is really important. It really differentiates you from either arborists within your municipality or the garden club or those sort of things. So think about how you're different. Where your board has impact, so are you on a neighborhood, a city, a county, a state? Adding that to your key messages is really important. And then also adding that emotional appeal of why people should care about trees. Having that emotional piece is really important in creating your key messages for your tree board, because that's the one time that you get to kind of push that envelope on inspiring people to care about trees in your area. So just as an example, So here's a key message example to see it in play. So to answer the who and where, you would say that we are the tree board of the city of Cary. And so for the what, the tree board of the city of Cary works to preserve our urban forests and help the city plan for a greener city. So that's specifically talking about what the tree board is actually responsible for and what they do. The how, so how do you do it? So the tree board of the city of Cary is a resource for city planners to pick the best trees for our community, and you can talk about signature events. So we host an annual Arbor Day celebration every spring. So those sort of things, like how are you meeting your mission of preserving our urban forests and help the city plan for a greener city? And then the why, so this is the emotional appeal of why people should care about trees. So cities and neighborhoods benefit from more trees. The Tree Board of Care of the City of Cary is here to help protect our urban forests and plant new trees so future generations can enjoy the benefits. So that kind of idea of, you know, what are we going to do with all this? Why are we here? That's just a really great way of kind of wrapping up what your key messages are. So we have poll number 2. I couldn't do a free answer. I wanted to do a free answer about why people should care about trees, but kind of pick what you think is the best reason why people should care about trees in your community. And Leslie, is there a way for people to chat in their answers for other?
If you would like the ones that do other, they can briefly unmute their phones pressing *6 and respond, and then hit *6 again to mute, just so we don't get any feedback. So
okay,
if you have 2 individuals, if you want to ask them specifically, they can just hit *6.
Okay. Yes, if you're brave, and if you want to share your other, *6. And I also know it's nice to just be quiet on these things, so that's okay too. Well, great. So it looks like a majority of you are agreeing that trees are a great investment in our city. So that is a fantastic key message for your tree board.
And Dawn, one of the others was stormwater. So they responded to the chat.
Exactly. So. Yeah, that's fantastic. And then the follow-up is that they help clean our air and produce more oxygen. So that idea of the environmental impact and just the human benefit. So great. Okay. Cool. So those are all just really important things to kind of keep in mind that are kind of the basics of communication, you know, that you want these key messages that you always come back to, when you're talking to somebody. So if you're at a networking event and somebody's like, what's a tree board? That you have 5 or 6 things that you can say right on the tip of your tongue. And these are great things to work with the other members of your tree board to do a little presentation at the next meeting and talk about your key messages that you're all going to use when talking about the work that you do every day. Okay, so talking about creating a digital storefront. Okay, so I have another poll. I'm very interactive. I have another poll for you. So I just wanted to kind of get a grasp on what kind of digital assets you have as a tree board. So asking about whether you just have a web page or that would be on like a municipality or something like that on your city's website. Whether you have your own website, or you have just a Facebook page, or you have kind of layers of the whole kit and caboodle. Okay. Okie dokie. So about 41% of you have nothing. So that is so good. So I mean it's a good starting place. Obviously, the bottom is a great basement to start and build your house around your tree board. Also, about 30% of you have just a web page. So that's a web page that is at least dedicated on your city site. So that's fantastic. And then 15% of you, so 2 of you, have the whole kit and caboodle. You are well down the road of communicating your tree board, which is fantastic. Okay. Thank you, Leslie. So we really encourage you to create a digital storefront for your organization. So this just gives people an online destination to get information and find out about your events, find out about things that are happening that matter to your tree board. You know, that this is in the world of creating websites and web pages now, it really is very, very easy, and it also can be very, very free. So don't feel intimidated by, you know, the cost side of it. You can host even your own website on WordPress for completely free. And while it kind of looks like a blog, you can treat it as a website, which would be fantastic. Certainly your first stop is to see if you can get a page on your city's website. See if they'll let you have a page to talk about everything you're doing as a tree board, and kind of remember to have them update it a lot with upcoming events and the things you're working on. If you wanted a little bit more control, you can create your own website if your PIO or your communications director at your municipality is okay with that. You know that it's with WordPress.com, it's very easy. The user interface, so once you set it up and you see the back end and all the kind of the tech part of it, it's really, really easy. It interacts like a Word document, so it's really easy to set up. Or you can also just create a Facebook page to share information. So a lot of small, even nonprofit organizations are just creating Facebook pages now and sharing all their information there and treating that as their website and kind of their digital storefront. So, you know, there's a lot of options. That's definitely step 2. So step 1 is to see if you have a PIO or somebody to help you do all this. And step 2 is to start creating that digital storefront, that place where people can go and learn about your organization. Because you do want to send them to something that is easy to update. So a website is often easier to update than a brochure or a presentation even. And it's just good. This gives your organization just a lot of legitimacy that you are an important group to pay attention to. Okie dokie. So now we're going to talk a little bit about media relations. So media relations can kind of be intimidating to a lot of people, you know, and it's also very exciting. It is super exciting to see your story placed in a newspaper, in your local newspaper, and to get that credibility of a reporter saying this is an important story and I want it to be covered and shared with our community. So, but it can be very easy, and you know that it does take a little bit of time, but it's something that is so important for your tree board because it is a broad broadcast, it's a wide broadcast of all the work that you're doing for our urban forum. And I think it's a great way to do something and really make an impact very easily and very quickly. So, you know, talking to your local paper, talking to your local TV station, even I know like cable networks often have their own programming. So see if there's any additional shows you can get on or come and talk about trees on. It's really great. It's really great things. I think, you know, it definitely increases the legitimacy of your organization. It makes it a force to be dealt with. But it just makes you just more of makes you an expert in the community. And, you know, it really positions your tree board as that expert on tree issues so that people know where to go if they have, you know, thoughts or questions about their urban forest in their city. It also increases awareness of your tree projects and the challenges in your area. So whether you're doing a tree planting, which is always a great media story, people love that. There's a lot of visual things to get out of it. But also if there's any challenges, if you're trying to save a tree, save a historic tree or a tree that's been around, that this is a great way of, you know, helping add some buzz around your issue. And then also to announce events and new programs. So to make sure that people know about your tree planting, if you want more volunteers, if you know, you want kids to come help you plant trees on a certain day, on Arbor Day or anything like that, that this is just a great way of making sure everybody knows about it and to really help bring a lot of people to those events. So in the document that I uploaded, this is a whole press kit. So the press kit that I uploaded actually has all of these steps laid out in a couple-page document, plus a shell press release for you. So it's a way that you can at least have a starting place for when pitching the media. So the first thing to really get over is who to contact. Once you know a story, let's say that you have a tree planting coming up for Arbor Day, that you know that you want the local paper to come out and take pictures of you planting trees, have cute kids, have great seniors, have military folks, however, you kind of think is a great visual. So who do you want to contact? It varies by the medium. So with newspapers, you often want to talk to either the news desk, lifestyle reporters, feature reporters, or community reporters. So you can also kind of look and see who's talking about gardening, who's talking about environmental issues in your city, and they would also be a great reporter to approach. So kind of look and see who is already reporting on these issues and talk to them first. With TV, you actually want to talk to the producers versus the anchors or like a weather person. You want to talk to the people behind the scenes. And there's often a news tip link on TV station websites that you can click on and be able to kind of contact those people directly, and that's great. And then radio also, you need to talk to producers. So rather than the people who are on air, so the on-air personalities are probably not the people who are making decisions about what stories they're going to cover. So you want to talk to reporters, or to the producers, which is kind of that layer in, or the directors of the show. And then finally, keep it local. So definitely if you want an easy win for your tree board, talking to your most local newspaper is going to be way more successful than talking to like the NNO or some other big, or I guess that's North Carolina based. So your statewide newspaper in your big cities. So in North Carolina, it's News and Observer, which is out of Raleigh, and out of Charlotte, even though it has a different name. So those ones are going to be really, really hard to get in. They have a lot of competition. They have a lot of things to cover. They have a different importance in the types of stories that they cover. And so with a local newspaper, it's going to be a lot easier. So in the Raleigh Triangle area, this kind of story would be perfect for like a Cary-based, which is one of our suburbs. So a suburb-based magazine or newspaper would be a perfect place to try to get this covered, because it is about the trees in their area, and it's about making their city more beautiful. So the more local, the more immediate you can be, the better. Okay, so what makes a great story? It's about those important things that makes it newsworthy. So we want to make sure that you're sharing all the details. You don't want your press release to be a mystery. You don't want it to be something where you're holding back things, or like, oh, let's wait for the reporter to ask me the right question. With the press release, you want to just lay it all out there. You want them to know about everybody that's coming and how important all these people are. The more detail you pack into that press release, the better. You do want to prioritize important information up high. So you do want to tell them about impact, about like how many trees, who's going to come plant trees. So if you're going to get the mayor to plant trees, which is a pretty easy thing to do, especially because you're all, a lot of you are within the municipality, that, getting the mayor to come out and dig the first hole for the tree can be a huge media opportunity. People love to come out and take a picture of that. So with prioritizing your information, you want to get that up really high. So in the very first sentence, you'll say that, Mayor John Smith is helping plant 100 new trees in our local park. And so that sort of information is going to hook a reporter. So you really want to make that first sentence do a lot of work. You want it to hook them and really bring them in. And then also you want to really think about what makes this newsworthy. So the fact that you're planting trees on a Saturday isn't super newsworthy. It's not something that reporters like the visual aspect of it, but they're going to want some sort of bigger thing that's going to draw them in. So the more you can make your tree planting important to the city, the better. So ways to kind of make it important are with important people. So is it the mayor? Is it some sort of local celebrity? Even like a very visible business person or leader of the Chamber of Commerce. Something like that can be very useful. Important people also. So kids and puppies also always bring the media. So the more you can incorporate kids and puppies or kittens are also very, very good. But in all honesty, kids do really help the visual aspect of the media. And so if you can say that 100 kids are going to plant 100 trees, like that could be a really great story for your local area. Also, military veterans are also really good. If you have anything that's associated with any of our military holidays, that can really hook a reporter. And so those sort of things. Kind of think about the important people who are going to be there. Timeliness. So this is with Arbor Day. Arbor Day is a slight timeliness thing. It's more about what makes the story. Why is the tree planting on Saturday? Why is that day important? Is it your city founder day? Is it Arbor Day? Is it some sort of national celebration that you can key in on and help improve the importance of your story? Is there a unique story? Is there something where a tornado came through and wiped out a bunch of trees in a neighborhood and you're going back to plant more trees to replace those trees? Is there some sort of unique story? Is it planting a certain kind of tree that means something to your area? Thinking about some of those things of highlighting how this tree planting, as our example, is important. Why is this? Why are you doing this? Those sort of things. And then impact. Also numbers always help reporters. So if you could say that we're planting 100 trees or we're going to plant 25 trees, but that means that it's going to produce so many pounds of oxygen or something like that. Some sort of impact that is impressive is always a good thing. And then also make it visual. So that's something I've talked a lot about through this section in particular is with news, whether it's print or TV, they want something to look at. So they want, especially with the tree planting or any of the kind of work probably that your board does, let them know that there's going to be kids with shovels or that you're going to have 100 trees lined up before volunteers go out and take them out. Tell them about the visual things that they can also incorporate in their story. And then, so talking about what makes a good press release, so there is a template in the document, but to kind of talk about it a little bit more, so make sure your contact information's on there. That's always a good first step. Make sure that people can follow up with you when they do want to tell your great story and ask you more questions. Include a snappy, fun headline. With a tree board, you have some opportunity to do some fun things. Insider tip, reporters love puns. It's true. So the more, I do think that this is an opportunity to not take yourself so seriously. You don't want to be too campy and too cheesy, but if there's an opportunity to add some fun to the lead or to the headline, so that is always a good thing with reporters. They get a lot of information and a lot of press releases every day. So the more you can make yours stand out, even if it gets them to smile and click on it, that's going to really help hopefully get your story covered. Make sure you answer that who, what, when, where, why, and how about your event or the story that you're trying to share. So make sure you cover all those things. It's always a good check at the very end is to kind of identify those sentences. You don't need to necessarily label those paragraphs of the sentences, but making sure that you answer all those questions is always a good check at the end. And then also give them a place to learn more. So your website, your Facebook page, any of that sort of thing, that's why we need those things like a digital storefront, that we need a place for people to get information. That is pretty much a standard practice at this point to talk about and have a place for people to go online. That it really helps build the importance of your tree board. Okay, so you've written this beautiful press release. You've thought about this great event. You know why it's important, why it's newsworthy. So now it's the battle of actually getting it published. So if you have time, as you're kind of starting to think about planning your event or planning your thing that you want to get media coverage, start building a relationship with your reporter. So in a small town, this is super easy. Just take them out to coffee or lunch. As a volunteer, they're going to love talking to somebody who's on the ground and caring about these issues. That they're not going to ask you tough questions. They're going to be happy that there's an engaged citizen who cares about this issue and wants to talk to them and help them get story ideas. Because with reporters, it's really, some days it's super easy to come up with a bunch of story ideas, but it's hard. It's just like any job. They need to come up with publishable, great content every day. And so that if you're able to build a relationship with them and just go to coffee with them, it's great to just get that rapport with them, because then when you need to pitch your story, it's super easy. You're like, hey, Joe, we had coffee. Remember I talked about this event? It's happening. And so that sort of thing really does work. And so we've included some guidelines about kind of when is the best time to let your reporter know that your story's happening. So everything from magazines all the way down to daily newspapers. It just kind of depends on which platform or which channel you're using. And that's all outlined in the document. And then the follow-up call is probably the most important piece of all media relations. So a lot of reporters get hundreds of press releases every day. But that you take time to make a follow-up call is really impressive to reporters. It's really impressive that you're taking time to reach out to them and say that this story is really important, and I really hope that you cover it. So that's really important. And then doing a third follow-up is always a good idea, or sending them like a post-event story. If they don't come, send them photos and like results of your event. That sort of thing is really great. And then when your release does run, thank them. Call them. Say just thank you so much for covering my story. That happens so rarely from reporters that is going to make you really stand out. So the next time that you have a story, that they'll remember you. And I think, and they're people. I mean, these reporters can be intimidating sometimes, but they're people. They're people who have a really hard job, especially now with shrinking newsrooms and things like that. Just taking time to thank them is just a great idea. Okay, so we have another poll. So which one news story that you're going to try to pitch this year? So thinking about that and thinking about how you're going to move forward out of this, what are some ideas that you're going to do this year? Great. Cool. So we have about 42% of you saying that you're going to do a tree planting story. Yay! And then another 42% of you doing an event story. So that would be great. And then I had tree history. So I thought that might be a kind of a fun feature to work with a reporter on. It's talking about the important trees in your area, the trees that have been there for a long time. Because we all, certainly in the fabric of our city's history, that there are trees that do have some significance. Whether they're one that's been on a church ground for a long time or some other kind of just destination that the community's always kind of rallied around. That'd be kind of a cool story, too. And then we have one person who says they're not ready yet, and that's okay. That this is, I know a lot of you are in different places of how your tree board's coming together. So, but hopefully you got some good ideas. Cool. Thank you, Leslie. Okay. So my last section is about being visible in the community. So you've created a website, you're thinking about what type of media stories that you're going to pitch to the media to get people to your event. And so now we're at the event. We're at, what your tree planting and that sort of thing. But just being conscious of closing that business loop, of closing that thing of what are you going to give the public when you are at these events, or if you're at even a city council meeting or things like that. Like, what kind of materials do you need to make sure that people understand what you do, and that they can take something away with them, take something to read on their own about trees in your area. So the first thing to create is to have a great leave behind. So that can look like a couple different things in the modern marketing communications world. It could be a brochure, so same old tri-fold brochure that we've always seen. Those are really handy. You can get a lot of information in there. It's very attractive. It's very just common. People understand how it works and why you're doing it. It can be very inexpensive, or you can work with a designer to design it for you. It could also be a one-pager. A one-pager is just an 8.5 by 11 standard piece of paper that you create in Word that just explains a little bit about what your tree board does using some of those key messages. Add some beautiful photos of trees. You'll be good to go. And also, if you have a newsletter or e-news, but those are also great to use as leave behind at your event. So these are the things that you'll be using, when you are out in the community. So whether you're hosting your own event or if you're attending another event. So there's always a lot of great community events in every city. Every city, especially, in the South, have really great festivals and neat community building opportunities. So working with them to see if you can get a free table at those events and talking about your tree board is really great. Creating a banner is super inexpensive. It's something you can use for years. So it's something you can put on the front of a table. You can put, at a tree planting. It's something that you can have for a long time. So creating a banner is a really great way of easily communicating and marketing your tree board to the community. And then finally, another idea is to work with partner and similar organizations to help and have them help distribute your brochure. So you can talk to other environmental organizations and see if they'll just help you and just add your brochure to their packet of stuff that they put out at the environmental fairs that they go to. So see if there's other organizations that will help you promote your organization without you being there. So that is, and so usually it's a kind of a materials exchange. So you would put out their materials at your event, and they will put out your stuff at their event. So it's just a great way of continuing to amplify all the work you're doing without having to actually do a lot of the legwork, which is hard because there's a lot of events, and it gets overwhelming to think about being at all these events. But if you can find somebody that can help you kind of split it up, or that your information is always there, that's great. So that's another good way of just being visible in the community. So I think with marketing and communications, people often let cost be a barrier for not doing more communications. That people get intimidated by how much it costs to do all this work. But I really encourage you to that with new and modern communications, that it's not as expensive as it used to be. That there are really great ways to do this with little to no cost. There is certainly a time factor. So I think anytime that something is free, that also means that it costs a lot of time. So, that there is, of course, there's expensive ways of doing all these things. We're not expensive as a communications agency. Because we work with nonprofits, we definitely keep our costs very affordable. But so there's always professionals who can help bring you up to speed with all this stuff. But there are ways you can do this on your own too. So the idea of crafting key messages is totally free. It's something you can work with on your board, your tree board, to find the right messages. And then that's just one really great way of really pulling all of your messages together. So that is a fantastic marketing thing. It's just that you're all talking about the same thing all the time. It really helps unify your organization. A website or a Facebook page also is free, or you can find some sort of person who loves your organization and wants to do it for free. Websites are super easy to set up. So you might find somebody who will do it for you for free. And then, really kind of thinking about that it takes around 15 to 25 hours to set up a website, to make sure that all of your copy is right and all your images and that sort of thing. And then its ongoing upkeep is another thing to factor into that. but it's really important. It's really a great thing to do for your organization. Media relations are also free. It's free to write a press release and send it to a reporter, which is amazing, thinking about how much reach you're going to get from that story. But it definitely takes about 10 to 20 hours per story between writing the press release and then working with the reporter and setting up the event. So just keeping that in mind. Brochures, one-pagers, and banners are definitely where it starts to get more expensive. That depending on your own design abilities, or if you have a friend who will do it for free or at a low cost, and then printing. So still, we're finding that digital, like color prints, are still $1 per side. You can, if you're doing large quantities, it gets a little bit cheaper. But you know, at Kinko's, it's still $1 per side, which is surprising. And banners, I found a banner for $40 online for a 3x5, for a 3-foot by 5-foot banner, which I thought was really affordable. And they can also help you design those on the site. So that's a really great way of doing it. And then events. So most communities offer some sort of nonprofit or municipality discount for you setting up a table, which is a great way of amplifying all you're doing for urban forests. Okay, poll number 5. This is my last one. So, did we inspire you to take at least one action to help grow your tree board's reach today? It's okay if you say no. I don't know who it is, so it's fine. Well, fantastic. So overwhelmingly, 93%-ish, I have inspired you to take at least one action to help grow your tree board's reach. So fantastic. Good. I'm glad that it was useful for most of you. Okay, so questions. And then there's my contact information. But yeah, let's hear what questions you have.
And this is where, if you have a question, you just type it into the question and answer dialog box, and I will bring Dawn's attention to it. But just to give people a couple minutes to be able to add a question if they have one. Dawn, thank you so much for presenting today and giving us a little bit of insight into how we can market and maybe reach out to the general public or media, getting comfortable in that role. But I would say for the one individual that did not get inspired or might still be hesitant to jump into this role with their tree board or their organization, you can either contact me or Dawn's email address is on this website there. If you've got further questions or concerns about jumping into that task, that would be one way to do it. The handout that we've attached to this presentation is actually something that Dawn and her crew put together for our organization, the North Carolina Urban Forest Council, a couple of years ago to try and do some fundraising for tree planting and trying to get our tree planting program out there on a statewide level. And we've used it, or I've used it personally on 4 different occasions for some tree planting events that we have funded and have gotten very good turnout. We've had at least 1 or 2 reporters at every tree planting event we've participated in across the state since then, and I've gotten better at developing those press releases. So it is very useful to have that kind of stuff templated out for your group to be able to access.
That's cool. Wow, that's neat. I haven't heard that story. Good. That's cool.
Let's see. We've got a question here from Pete Smith. What do you do if the city information officer wants everything to go through them, but they don't want to get the info out for your event?
Yes, I know that happens. The control factor, and then also, yes, it's all about control, right? It's all about them wanting to control it. I would say that you might need to kill them with kindness a little bit. So maybe trying to take them out to lunch and talk to them about, is there a way that they need that information earlier? Because that sometimes happens in that role because they have so many pulls on their time that maybe if you give them more time and more time leading up to when they need to pitch that story, that it'll be that it'll hit their list a little bit better. I think, unfortunately, you just have to build a relationship with them. Drop off donuts or other kind things to their desk. Get them on your side. Build a relationship with them, even if, I think that, yes, if they are the gatekeeper, they need to be your friend. So try to figure out if you can go to lunch with them and talk to them about this, talk to them about what their process is, if they need it earlier, if they need it in a certain format, if they just like to do a brainstorming call, a few weeks before the event, and that sort of thing. Bring them to your side and be that kind of way of making their life easier, because it's probably because they're busy, which I know we're all busy, but us communications people, we're like, it's so busy. So trying to build a relationship would be really the great way to do that. See if there's something you can get a little bit more control over. See if there's something they'll let go. Can you put it on your Facebook page? Can you do other things?
Okay, great. And then we have Andy Piper, who's with the city of High Point here in North Carolina. Any advice on giving on-camera interviews?
Yes. So do a practice run with somebody from your tree board. So have somebody ask you all of your tough questions and all the questions you are most afraid of answering before the event. So the more practice you do it, the more just at ease you're going to be on those on-camera interviews. Also, because most of it's not live, you can have your talking points right next to you, and you can stop them and say, I need to look at my talking points, because they're going to be editing it, when they get back to the office. And then also, forget about the camera. Act like you're talking to the reporter in some sort of other, forum, that it's not about this camera staring at you, that you're just talking to this person, and trying to ignore all of that is really, really important. And also, I think most of the time, and I know there's definitely controversial things that come up with all of this, with tree planting. Every organization has controversy that they have to deal with on some level. But most of the time, it's going to be very friendly. It's why are you planting trees? That sort of thing. So I think, yes, so practice. Having your talking points with you is totally okay. And then also ignoring that you're actually on camera, if you can, is the great way to overcome those nerves and overcome the things that make us nervous and make us intimidated by doing on-camera interviews.
I haven't had any other questions being submitted, but you've got, for everybody on the call, you've got my contact information through the emails, and then you've got Don's there. So if you come up with any questions, or if you encounter a marketing or communication issue down the road, you always have that to bounce off of for input. But with that, if there are no other questions, we'll kind of close out. Dawn, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to put together this presentation and provide your professional insight into this world of communicating. I'd also like to take a minute to thank the North Carolina Forest Service and the U.S. Forest Service for helping provide the technical support and some of the financing for our tree board webinar series. Hopefully you guys have gotten enough out of it. We do have another one in the series coming up, but on the slide now, which I will email this link out to everybody. This is the link for the webinar quiz. The tree board webinar series, one of the benefits of it is if you attend 3 or more of the 5 webinars in the series, I'll put together a resource manual or a guidebook that will have a lot of maybe brochures or handouts that will be useful for your tree board. But in order for me to track who has attended 3 or more of the 5, I put together very simple 3 to 5 question multiple choice true-false quizzes. So you just need to go to this link, take the quiz, and it's how I track your attendance. And I'll be putting together those resource guidebooks after our last webinar next month, and you should get them late April, early May. So just take a few minutes after this. I will email around this link as well as doing a webinar evaluation for us so we can get your feedback on how this topic went and maybe get some ideas for future tree board webinar topics. Because even though we've got our last webinar in this webinar series taking place on April 1st, getting things done with volunteers, we are planning on holding another series, another 3 to 5 webinars starting in the summer and fall to kind of build upon this webinar series. So any feedback and input you guys are willing to submit, I will gladly take. And with that, I thank everybody for your time, and I look forward to working with you guys in the future.
Thank you.